Hello again. um, Again, thank you very much for following along. It's a big day, and I am going to go live with Shanu. Here we go.
Hi. How are you? I can't hear you.
Weird. It must be in a Bluetooth device somewhere. Because all of a sudden it was like, I couldn't
I
hear
can hear you
anything.
now.
Perfect. I can hear you too. How are you?
Perfect. Good, good. Just, busy trying to take care of myself.
Good.
It's a balance.
Heck yeah. And it is a balance, and you need to start with you. You need to take care of you first. And speaking of you, do you want to, will you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you're up to and about your wonderful platform?
Yeah, so my name is nneu. Hi, everyone. I am a content creator and I focus on sustainable living, but like making sustainable living inclusive and accessible to everyone. So I have my Instagram as well as my YouTube channel. And it's all about just like making sustainable living easy, whether that's, regrowing your own green onions by just popping it in water or reducing your plastic waste. It's just all about how can I save money, save the planet, and also just be inclusive to different people because not everyone has access to a Whole Foods or a bulk store, so it's just making sure to keep that conversation open and inclusive of everyone.
Yes, and I have loved following along. I find that your platform has been incredibly insightful, very informative, super approachable, and simple. Like you break it down in a bite-sized, manageable way. What are some of your favorite tips, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's so funny. I just posted a photo today that talked about the power of just like saying no. And I think that goes into living a sustainable lifestyle. It's like you can say no to the plastic bag, or you can say no to when you're like ordering takeout, and you can say no to the plastic forks and say you don't want any plastic forks. So I think little things like that over time build up and you're like, oh wow, I actually did save a lot of, plastic. So I think it's just finding ways to say no and to not bring things into your home that don't have a purpose, or whether that's like excess clothing that you're not going to use and it's going to end up in landfill. But I think it's all about being intentional and mindful about like what you're bringing into your home in the first place, because it only becomes waste once you like throw it away, right? So it's,
Yeah,
you're not bringing in all this crap into your home and you're being intentional about it, then it's less waste and it's better for your wallet and it's better for the planet as well. So that's a kind of like a general one that I would give people.
I love that. I also love talking about ordering food and also we reduce the waste because I think what is really important that people understand about sustainability and environmentalism and just understanding things is one, first of all, I'm not an expert at all. This is a journey and talking to people who are like-minded or who are experts or just have a curiosity about it. But um, it's it's not this or that. It's not all or nothing. So the fact that we we live in the modern world and we're also in a pandemic, or someone might not, you might not be able to go grab food at that moment. And so I think it's important to discuss like the balance of it all and the fact that we can order food, but if we are going to order food, then maybe what is the ways in which we can offset that by using less plastic. And no, I'm going to make this better.
Exactly. It's all about balance. Like anyone that says they're perfectly zero waste, like it's not telling the truth. Because unless you live on a farm and you're growing your own food, like that's the only way you can be 1,000% sustainable. Because like even if you're going to the grocery store and shopping in bulk, they're usually coming in plastic containers, right? So there's still waste and there's still plastic along the way. But it's just like finding ways that you can reduce the waste along the way and do what you can, because otherwise you're just going to get super overwhelmed and then you're going to realize that everything's plastic and it's just you're going to go down this deep dark hole. But I think
Yeah,
it's just like focusing on the things that you can change and that you can make a difference in.
yeah, 100%. Because like you say, it's impossible to be 100%. Um, what are some of your favorite hacks also? Like
like when you say go, like shopping, for instance, what's your favorite? Someone who does nothing, like their way of shopping, like going to go to the store, their bag, go by day. Like, what are some of your favorites? Even like when you choose the store.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Well, I'm so sorry.
All good. Am I clear on your end? Because you're a little fuzzy for me, but I can still hear you.
Let me see. Is that any better?
Let's see.
Ah,
But it's all good. I can hear you. But no, tips in terms of tips in terms. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. I look normal on mine. That sucks. I'm so sorry.
Okay. The connection's blurry, someone said. I'm curious if it's so hard.
It's mine.
Like,
It's totally mine. Yeah, I don't know why I have such bad internet.
all good. But just like general, like go-to tips, or you said the grocery store?
Well, just, I mean, I guess in general, you know, I like, what are your favorite, I mean, again, the word no, I think is a great example. And saying like, if you're going to go to the grocery store, what are some ways, I guess, that you can implement that and using the word no? So how would you prepare, like, if you're going to the grocery store and someone's like, well, how do I say no? What do I say no to? What are the things that they can do to prepare? And
Yeah.
you know,
I think it's hard. I mean, even like if you go to Sprouts, like the bulk is in plastic, so it's pretty difficult to buy things in bulk. So I think a lot of ways that I reduce waste is using products for different purposes. So for example, like if you buy a big gallon of vinegar that comes in plastic, like I use vinegar to clean, my bathtub, but I also use it to clean my produce, or or I will use it to do like a multi-purpose spray just to clean the counter. So like that saves you so many different pieces of plastic and money as well. So I think it's like finding items that are multi-use. I love baking soda, whether you want to whiten your teeth or you want to clean the counter, or you can get like sticky glue off of like because like when you bring in jars from the grocery store, and you take off the label, and like help get that off with baking soda. So I think it's just like finding products that are multi-use and that you can use for different things. And I think even just going to the grocery store, like meal planning and meal prepping, because I know everyone's guilty of just going to the store and buying everything and you're not really like thinking about what you're putting into your cart. And then you end up wasting food once you get home because it ends up like sitting out for a while. But I think when you like go into the grocery store with a plan and okay, Monday I'm gonna eat this, Tuesday I'm gonna eat that, then you're less likely to waste food. So I think just being intentional about what you're even buying in the first place is a good start. And when it comes to just packaging, like try to find things that come in aluminum versus plastic. Like it's not, the easiest thing to do, but it's just trying to find those little things that add up. Or if you're getting produce, get produce that comes unpackaged. Or I try to find the produce that don't have the stickers on it, because the stickers you can't recycle. So
I is that. Oh,
I know, it's annoying.
It's so unnecessary to have them in general.
So I think it's just like, because I'll go to the grocery store and they'll like wrap the organic produce with like stickers that say it's organic, and I'm just like, do we need to do all that?
Yeah. What? So frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
What are some ways in which you can do, or some tips for self-care and sustainability that are helpful for you?
Yeah, I think one is like just take care of yourself. Like I can't help take care of the planet if I can't take care of myself first. And I think that has to do with financially, emotionally, everything. I think a lot of times people think when they see content creators that they're just, happy all the time and like they have all these nice things. And it's like, no, we're people too that go through things. So I think it's about like sustaining myself and sustaining my heart.
Yeah.
And I think also finding the balance of like not being on social media, and like not everything needs to, you need to take a photo of, and just being present. So I think just like reading books on like, minimalism or whatever the case may be, just to like feed my soul. And I feel like when I do that, then I'm like able to kind of give the world the content they like.
I just saw that you're reading Essentialism.
Yeah, no, it's a great book. I'm all about just like, how can I be a better human? And I think that When it comes to just like minimalism or low waste living, it's like it's all the same thing. It's like, how can I just be a better human for myself and for the planet and just like everyone? It's just like being intentional.
100%. Well, first of all, I love that book. And secondly, I just love what you said about being intentional with yourself first and then with the planet. And I think sometimes people disassociate planet and people. I mean, I know that it's together, but I think climate change seems like it involves the planet. Not everyone, I think when you start, having conversations, not everyone realizes so much. You have to nurture yourself and sustain yourself. It's like the metaphor of the oxygen mask on first kind of thing. And to be able to find ways in which we can do that so we can be more sensitive, better for advocating for our communities.
Exactly. It's a balance too, because it's also like, I also have to make money. And then there's so many brands who are like, well, this is our nonprofit, this is that. And it's like, well, how can I help the world if I can't sustain myself? So it's also that balance too of like, yes, you want to help people and help organizations, but it's also like, well, I want to live a nice life too. Like I should not live in a box,
No, and know your worth. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, and that's what I really admire and love about your platform is that I find that you really stick true to yourself, and that also means who you align yourself with as far as like brands and stuff. Do you ever have moments where you get an offer or a brand approaches you and you're like, this doesn't quite align, or do you ever have those moments that come by?
Yeah, it's a hard balance because like no brand is perfect, right? Are better than others, but I mean, I do definitely say no to a lot. Like there's some that are just like obviously no's, where it's like everything's plastic and you're not doing anything to fight the plastic. Like
Yeah.
there's some that are just obvious. I was like, do you look at my page at all? It is a hard balance. But at the same time, like I do want to work with brands that are trying to be better. They're like, okay, this is where we're at and this is what we're working towards. So for me, it's not all about like being a perfect brand, but like a brand who is actively taking steps to be more sustainable and be more inclusive.
And how do you, because often I struggle with knowing about greenwashing, and are they like actually making these steps, or is it just like, no, we are green because we recycle our bottles because they're plastic, which it's like, that's from 20 years ago. Like, I'm sorry if you're just promoting that now, like we need to be thinking a little farther ahead. Like, how do you approach or look at, how do you look at greenwashing, and how do you, know when someone is doing that?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think for me, it's like, because a lot of brands will come out with their eco-friendly lines of whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, if that's where you're starting, great. But I want to see that you're continually, making everything else eco-friendly. You can't just have one eco-friendly line and then be like, yeah, we're eco-friendly. But it's like, no, clearly you don't care about, all the fast fashion that you're producing on the other end. And it's just a marketing thing. But I feel like, because I've even worked with brands that have been placed in the greenwashing box, which I even thought they were greenwashing. But I think it's also when you look at brands that are bigger brands, like for example, like a Unilever brand, I used to think that's like, they're all bad, like no one can do anything good. But I partnered with Love, Beauty and Planet. And so like, I was like, originally I was like, absolutely no, like it's Unilever, I'm not going to do it. But then you realize that like a lot of these smaller brands within the Unilever company, there's actually a team of people that want to do good and are actually trying to make it accessible. Because in order to be a brand that's, in every single Target or every single Walmart or whatever the case may be, and to be that accessible, you have to have, a big brand behind you and to have that funding. So a lot of times I think it can be confusing when you see a brand like them under the Unilever brand. You're like, well, they're definitely greenwashing. Well, it's like, no, there's usually a group of people that want to do good on that team, and they're trying to make it as accessible and affordable as well. Because as we know, like, sustainable products are expensive. Like, it's frustrating, but in order for people to get paid right, like, brands have to charge more. So I think it's just finding brands that are every year they're taking the steps to be more sustainable and are holding themselves accountable. Usually most brands will come out with like a sustainability report every year, just say like, this is where we're going, this is what we've done in the past. So I feel like brands that actually break down those steps and are very like vocal about it, and they're like, we're not perfect, but this is what we're doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's great. I mean, I always kind of, I feel like I go down these, I think they are, and I'm not, it's hard, it's sometimes hard to know because there's not a lot of policing, I think, sometimes in how someone markets themselves. A lot of
Exactly.
people get lost in. Very confusing.
Yeah, and I think the biggest things when you like see, I think the biggest misconception too is like they know when they make the packages like green and white that they makes you think that like, oh, this is great for the environment. And it's like, well, no, this is still plastic.
You're just white. Well, yeah.
So, I think it can be hard, but it's like, well, how are you gonna, like, if a brand is like saying they're eco-friendly but doesn't even mention the fact that they use plastic, like that's a red flag for me. Like if you're saying you use recycled plastic and you're doing all these things, great, but like if you totally just ignore the packaging and you're just talking about the quality of the product, like say it's like eco-friendly laundry detergent but it comes in a plastic bottle and then you're not acknowledging that it's coming in plastic. So
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's tough because there's so many brands that are still using a lot of plastic. I'm purchasing them too, and because it's like, oh, well, they're great, but you know, it's more contribution to the waste that's going. I mean, I've talked to Becker about it. I love clothes, and I'm trying to more of a read books. Like I said, there's that great documentary about minimal and getting to that. I think it's about building habits and stuff, but it is tough sometimes to make the right choice. And so like, oh, I like this part, but like figuring out balance. Like, I support you because this is just adding to more waste. Or sometimes as someone who has this presence, and then someone gifts you something, and then it's this whole like, I can't use it.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I've definitely said no to brands who like they send me their sustainable whatever, and then it comes wrapped in bubble wrap and all this plastic, and I'm like,
or like there's a product that comes in a box like this and bubble wrap, and what are you doing?
because they try to make the cute like PR packages for influencers, and I'm like, you clearly don't understand like who you're sending stuff to.
Yeah.
Because I don't want all this fancy packaging.
No, the product should speak for itself.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a
process,
but
yeah, it is a process. It's a learning process. You know, we're all here to like learn and get better at it, and I think that comes from having conversations with each other. Are there any good podcasts that you're listening to lately?
Not necessarily like sustainability related, but I really like to listen to How I Built This.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and just learn about like how people have built their own businesses and companies and how they're sustaining themselves. I think like the lessons you learn just kind of apply no matter what you're doing and what you want to be doing in life. And it's just inspiring. So I just like to hear stories from people and like what they're doing outside the space. Because sometimes like if all you're hearing sustainability can be a lot and overwhelming. But I think you also just like get inspired when you hear from people that have nothing to do with what you're doing as well.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I was just saying I was listening to this podcast called Ologies. And it was so fascinating. It was all about like biology to pharmacology to, you know, zoology, whatever. And this particular one, they had an economist on there. I think his name is Steven, but I don't remember his first name, but his last name is Levitt from Freakonomics. And this other fascinating, and I really should know her name. She's an amazing economist, and she, I believe, is still a student at Harvard. Maybe she's graduated by now, but brilliant. I'll think of her name. It's Anna something. But anyways, they're on this podcast, and in the podcast, it was all about economics and about, he had a particular topic about quitting and how we don't quit enough because we invest money or time or whatever, and we think we have to forge ahead and keep going with it. And that we need to look at the margin and our baseline and see where we are and go like, we could keep going down this road and get more exhausted and tired and spend more money, or we could quit now and take a different path, and there's nothing wrong with that. and it can be so applicable to so many different things, not just in economics, but we can look at it in so many, you know, ways that we implement it in our own life. So I love, you know, looking at different podcasts or, you know, viewpoints and making it applicable to, you know, sustainability or how we live or whatever.
Exactly. I feel like it's all intertwined.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's I was looking at these comments. I was plastic positive. How do you feel like plastic positive companies? So there's like plastic neutral, because people are asking plastic neutral. So like companies sometimes, let's say they produce X amount of plastic, they'll buy or put money towards retrieving plastic from the ocean. So let's say for every bottle of plastic I purchase, they take a bottle of plastic from the ocean, and that gets like recycled. So a lot of brands are doing that, and they're partnering with like brands like Plastic Bank, where they like actually go to like Haiti and places like that and just take plastic out of the ocean, and then that actually gives the people jobs that are living in those countries. But I don't know, I mean, I think it's a step towards the right direction, but again, it's like we can't keep feeding plastic in the ocean. Like we have to stop that, otherwise it's just going to keep happening.
Right.
To know that like that's a great first step, but it's not the end all be all.
That makes a lot of sense. There's great comments. So I know that you're busy and I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I was also wondering, with this being an insane year, what are some things that you want to leave behind in 2020 and take with you into 2021?
Leave behind. I think just the fear of like, I'm trying to think of the it's a lot. It's a big question.
I know.
I think the fear of like things won't work out. Like doing what I do for a living, I'm sure you can relate. Like it's not a guaranteed, you know, paycheck. And so you're really taking a chance on yourself. So you can think to yourself like, oh, what if a brand never wants to work with me again? Like, how am I going to pay my bills, and et cetera, et cetera. But I think when you let go of that fear that that will happen, then it's very freeing, and then that's when the opportunities come. And then taking into the new year, I feel just like, I don't know, just wanting to explore and just try new things and just being open-minded and not being scared to go outside my comfort zone. I know it's COVID, but ideally, hopefully later in the year I can travel. I wanted to originally go to like Mexico for a month and like live by myself.
That'd be amazing.
So we'll see if that can happen later in the year or not. But I think just exploring myself and exploring what it is that I want outside of social media and like what makes me happy. Because again, like I feel like if I'm not good, then I can't produce good content. So I think it's just trying to find that balance and figure out what makes me happy and what doesn't make me happy.
I love that answer. And I think that it really shows, I mean, it seems like you must be feeding yourself really well, because your content is always like creative and fun and positive, and I hope that you continue to like keep finding ways to nurture yourself, because I hope you keep creating great content.
It's a balance. I definitely go on like little breaks here and there, or I have content that's already filmed, so I post it. But I think it's, especially when you're sitting down in front of a camera and trying to talk and be happy, it's like it's hard to fake that. Like you want to actually be happy. So it's a balance, but I'm super grateful.
Good. Well, I keep doing what you're doing, and I mean, you know, I love following along with you. I love what you're doing. Your tips are amazing, and I try to implement them as much as I can in our own home and teach our kids how to, you know, use your tips. And, you know, I think you're doing great, and I'm so appreciative for you being here and taking the time. And
Of course. Happy to be here. I'm so glad we're able to meet. It's so funny now that I live in Austin. It's like
I know.
Small world.
I love it. I know, it's awesome, and I can't wait to see more of you.
Yes. I'm so looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you again.
Of course. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.